Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the IOFINA PLC investor presentation. Throughout this recorded presentation, investors will be in listen-only mode. Questions are encouraged. They can be submitted at any time via the Q&A tab that's just situated on the right-hand corner of your screen. Please just simply type in your questions and press send. The company may not be in a position to answer every question it receives during the meeting itself. However, the company will review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it is appropriate to do so, and these will be available via your Investor Meet Company dashboard. Before we begin, if I may, I would like to submit the following poll, and if you could give that your kind attention, I'm sure the company would be most grateful. And I'd now like to hand you over to CEO Tom Becker. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to be able to present an update for IOFINA, in particular, an update from our 2022 results and an outlook for where we're going as a company. And I'm here with our CFO. I'm Tom Becker. I'm the CEO. I'm here with our CFO, Malcolm Lewin, and we'll be presenting some information with you today. I will say that as we are very proud of where we've come as an organization, and we'll be looking to continue the momentum that we have in our specialty chemical business moving forward. We understand that we probably have a mixed audience today, some of which are investors who have known the IOFINA story for a long period of time, and some of which are new to the story. So we hope that this presentation provides the proper background for all people and enough detail for the company's vision and how things are going. So without further ado, this is the general agenda that we're going to be doing today, a general background of the business, what we do, why we do it, and why we're unique and how we do that. We'll be touching on the iodine market because, in particular, if you're familiar with IOFINA, we are manufacturers of iodine and iodine-based specialty chemicals, and why that, and we play in this iodine market and why that's important. We're very proud of our 2022 results, which came out a couple of weeks ago, and we'll be going through those in a bit of details. And then I think for us, we really want to give that message out to where we see IOFINA going as a company, how we continue to have plans for growth in our organization. So to start on a business background overview, what do we do and how do we do it? So IOFINA is a specialty chemical company. We have expertise in halogen-based chemistries, so chemistries around iodine, chlorine, fluorine, with a particular focus on iodine because we have two business units. One is IOFINA Resources and one is IOFINA Chemical. And the IOFINA Resources business unit is actually a manufacturer of iodine. What we do is in the state of Oklahoma, we've established some technology and have built 5 operating plants that take iodine out of produced water that is a byproduct of the oil and gas operation. So when oil and gas hydrocarbons come up from wells, often and pretty much all the time, brine water is co-produced with the oil and gas. And the oil and gas operators have to separate this brine from the hydrocarbons and is a waste product for them. What IOFINA has been able to do is develop technology over the course of a number of years to be able to take this waste stream and partner with these oil and gas companies and extract iodine from that waste stream. We've been doing this for a long period of time. These plants are located in the western part of Oklahoma. And in fact, all of IOFINA's operations are in the United States. And last year, we actually generated a little over 500 metric tons of crystalline iodine from these plants and look to continue to grow that. And this is a key raw material for us, iodine, which we sell to the open market. And we also create value-added products from that iodine. And that's leads me to our second business unit, which is IOFINA Chemical, which is based in Northern Kentucky in the United States. What IOFINA Chemical does is it takes iodine and creates other products that go into various applications, which we'll get into here shortly. But it is the sales arm of IOFINA. So we take our iodine, we either create value-added products or sell the iodine directly into the market to other iodine users. We also are diversified beyond our iodine capabilities. And IOFINA Chemical also produces chlorine-based and fluorine-based compounds that go into various industries. And in fact, the chlorine and fluorine-based compounds that we produce at IOFINA Chemical was about a quarter of our sales last year. So it's a significant part of our business and provides us diversification. We're the second largest iodine producer in North America, and the iodine market is a growing market. So we feel we're an interesting player with growth opportunities in an ever-expanding market. To give a little bit more background into the IOFINA resource side of the business and how our operations work, you can see pictures down below of our iodine production plants. And IO2, 4, 6, 7, and 8 are operating plants in the state of Oklahoma. And IO number 9, which we'll get into in a little bit, is a plant that's under construction that we hope to have online and anticipate having online before the end of the second quarter. We're a low-cost producer. We think we're one of the most environmentally friendly producers of iodine in the world. We've established our own unique technology that takes this third-party produced brine, which is fairly dirty. It contains some hydrocarbons in it that aren't fully separated in the oil and gas separation thing, but we are able to put our technology in place and isolate iodine. These plants we can build in a fairly short amount of time. It generally takes us around 6 or 7 months to build a plant with rapid payback. How does our plants operate? Well, first of all, we have to put them in the right areas. So we have a geological team at our IOFINA resource division that helps us identify where potential sites are for iodine plants. Some general criteria of what makes a good location for IOFINA is large volumes of water being produced and good amounts of concentrated iodide in the solution. When I say good amounts of concentration of iodine, we're talking still part per million kind of levels of iodide in the solution. So what our process does is it takes the iodine-rich brine. We do some chemical processes to it, and we use the actual natural process or properties of iodine to help remove it from the water. So similar to dry ice, iodine likes to go to the gaseous state fairly easily. And our technology allows us to essentially blow out and reconcentrate the iodine into a solution, which we can then isolate pure crystalline iodine and be able to sell into the open market. We're excited about the future prospects of IOFINA Resources, and we'll get into the steps that we're taking in order to expand our production in Oklahoma. To take a little bit of step back of the market that we're into. So iodine is produced globally and is about a 37,000 metric ton market. So it's a niche market, but it's an ever-growing market. And the graph that is shown on this particular slide shows a bit of history of world production of iodine with the red line and iodine price with the yellow line. And as you can see from the graph, iodine production and consumption has generally grown with GDP kind of levels over a course of time. So the iodine market tends to grow somewhere between 2 to 5% per year. So as we speak today with a 36 to 37,000 metric ton market, the iodine market is growing at somewhere between 500 and 1,500 tons a year. Most of the world's iodine is produced in Chile. About 60% of the world's iodine, maybe slightly higher than that. And it's produced from an ore that's in the Atacama Desert, an ore that is concentrated at hundreds of parts per million of levels of iodates. And the manufacturers in Chile use a process where they blow up the top layer of the Atacama Desert, where some of these ore pockets are held. They use mining operations to break up this rock, put it in big heap piles, and leach out the iodine, the iodates with water in the process, and then refine it to create iodine. The rest of the world's iodine is generally made from brine, but what makes IOFINA a little bit unique is that we are actually partnering with third-party oil and gas operators that are already producing this brine. And we feel that our production is a much more environmentally friendly way to produce iodine than, for example, our Chilean counterparts. We're not breaking up ore in the Atacama Desert. We're not using a lot of trucks and mining equipment in order to extract iodine, but we actually are taking essentially a waste stream, and without IOFINA being there, would be wasted. The IOFINA would never be isolated from this waste stream. So we partner with oil and gas operations. We pay them a fee in order to reduce their costs of their injection costs of this waste product that they have, and we extract a valuable commodity from that. The iodine, as I touched on already, the iodine market continues to grow. The highest, we'll get into some applications of iodine and where it goes into and what areas are growing, but the highest demand growth is in Europe and in Asia. We saw in our operations 2022 demand stronger than anticipated, and so far this year, demand for our products has been strong. The major areas of growth are a lot of the human healthcare applications of iodine. We'll show those applications here in a moment, but I'll particularly say that X-ray contrast media, so injectable drugs to help CT and X-ray scan readings are a major area of growth, and we anticipate this to be a continued area of growth as especially in Asia, where healthcare is going to be continually improved access to the masses of population there. Iodine price, as you can see, has jumped around a bit over the last decade. There's a number of reasons that caused a spike back in 2011 due to some Chilean and Chilean production issues, and then some other, and then those prices came back down when additional supply came online. But as you can see in the near term, iodine prices have gone up significantly, and as a iodine producer, and the work we've done as being a solid, low-cost iodine producer, IOFINA has benefited from that. Current spot prices are at or near $70 a kilo, and we sell almost all of our iodine on the spot market. The contract prices in iodine are slightly lower than the spot prices, and that's historically been the case. Our view on price right now is that there's no reason to believe, from our point of view, that iodine prices will change much in the near term, although factors that are out of our control may change that, but that's our current viewpoint. Just to touch on the applications of iodine and where it's used, as I've already mentioned, the largest single use of iodine is X-ray contrast media, and our view is that that is the largest growth opportunity in the near term for iodine. But iodine is used in a number of different applications, whether it's biocides and antiseptics. I think the things that most of us will be familiar with is when you have a wound and they rub that orangish kind of brown solution on you. That's generally an iodine antiseptic to promote and prevent disease or prevent any kind of issue with the wound. But there's a number of different other applications of iodine, which IOFINA either sells our iodine directly into, or we create value-added components at IOFINA Chemical. So examples of those are the pharmaceutical industry. IOFINA Chemical creates additives or compounds that are used in the synthesis of certain drugs. For one example, a simvastatin uses a compound that IOFINA Chemical creates to produce that statin drug to lower cholesterols. But there's other applications that we're all familiar with too. LCD screens have polarizing films involved with them. There's animal health and human nutrition health. Iodide is an important micronutrient for thyroid function in humans, and it also has positive benefits for animals in their development as well. So iodide is fortified into salts in most areas around the world and other food sources, and for a lot of animal feed applications. Other things that IOFINA Chemical is involved with are some other biocides that are, for example, used in paints and coatings and prevent mold and mildew from being generated in those paints and coatings and as a preservative in personal health care applications. Industrial catalysts use iodine to promote processes that create things like acetic acid. And you can see some other applications here. But we're excited about the iodine market. We see this to continue to be a growing market. And this is the market that IOFINA is involved with. To give a quick review before I hand it over to Malcolm here, I'm very proud of our 2022 results. 5 years in a row now, we've had record EBITDA and revenue for the organization. We'll go into the numbers here in a little bit more detail. We made over 500 tons of our crystalline iodine. We benefited from the hard work we've done in the past in our production by a higher iodine price. And we've also diversified our business with non-iodine sales. So you can see some other bullet points here on this particular slide of some things we do. That's a lot of things about our company from a sales standpoint and financial standpoint, and Malcolm will get into a little bit more detail here in a second. But we're also proud of our operations. We focus a lot of time and effort into investor meetings on our results, but operationally, safety comes first for us. We're proud that we had no lost time injuries in 2022. And that is also we also had no lost time injuries so far in 2023. And that's a key for us in any kind of manufacturing operation to the most important thing is our employees and keeping them safe and doing things the proper way to manufacture things safely, but also make sure our employees are in a good atmosphere for the working conditions. Some other things that we've accomplished in 2022, we continue to grow as an organization. Our quality and quality management systems are very important to us. IOFINA Chemical applied for and received ISO certification, ISO 9001 certification in December. And we follow, matrix on our customer satisfaction and quality of products. And happy to say we hit all of those internal goals in 2022 and challenged ourselves even more in 2023. And I think the most important thing, and we'll get back to this in a little bit, is that we continue to expand our operations. And we started construction on IO number 9 late in 2023, and we'll be putting that up online here shortly. But I'm going to hand it over to Malcolm here right now, who will discuss our 2022 results in a little bit more detail.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So looking at the financial highlights on the current slide, it's apparent IOFINA is continuing on the upwards trajectory of the last few years, with a big boost to profits in 2022 resulting from very substantial increases in the price of iodine. Revenue was up 8% to 42.8 million. Gross profit was up 47% to 15.8 million, and EBITDA was up 65% to 11.5 million. At the same time, bank debt was reduced from 8.2 million to 6.8 million, and cash increased from 5.3 million to 5.9 million, resulting in a reduction in net debt from 3 million to 0.9 million. We go to the next slide. If we go to the profit and loss account, we can see that within revenue, iodine sales increased by 0.9 million or 3% to 31.4 million, whereas non-iodine sales increased by 2.2 million or 22% of sales to 10.8 million. In fact, the volume of iodine sales was down on 2021, which had been a year of bounce back from the pandemic with exceptionally high demand. Following on from that, global iodine prices increased significantly during the first half of 2022 and have remained at that higher level since then. Consequently, the prices achieved by IOFINA for iodine were very much higher, with a 98% average price increase achieved for sales of raw iodine and a 54% average price increase for sales of iodine derivatives. These increases drove the substantial increases in profits for 2022. The 22% sales increase to 10.8 million for non-iodine products was by contrast very much volume driven, with one key product reflecting some additional inventory demand from a key customer. There are also mainly inflationary cost increases of around 20% related to production of iodine and derivatives. However, the net effect of the selling price increases already mentioned was to lift gross profit by 5.1 million from 10.7 million to 15.8 million, 38% of sales. As Tom's already mentioned, iodine production was 516 metric tons compared to sales of 441 metric tons. The sales were split 50-50 between raw iodine and iodine derivatives. EBITDA improved by 65% from 6.9 million to $11.5 million after deducting 4.4 million in SG&A expenses from the gross profit of 15.8 million. Operating profit after depreciation and amortization of 1.8 million was 9.6 million, up 85% compared to $5.2 million for 2021. After exceptional income of $500,000 from an old liability no longer due, the profit before financing costs was 10.1 million compared to $5.4 million for 2021. Pre-tax profit almost doubled at 10 million compared to 5.1 million for the previous year. And then finally on this slide, there is a deferred tax charge of $2.1 million representing the estimated US tax liability on profits, which is settled by offset against brought forward tax losses from previous years. Current estimates suggest the balance of brought forward losses will cover 2023 liabilities, but tax will be payable from 2024 onwards. Okay, next. Turning to the balance sheet, there is an increase in net working capital from $6.7 million in 2021 to $13.2 million in 2022. For receivables, this reflects higher selling prices and timing of sales. For inventories, production and purchase costs are higher. And in addition, inventories at end 2021 were somewhat run down following the increase in iodine demand during 2021 and have been rebuilt. The other item to mention is debt and cash balances. Bank debt fell by 1.4 million from 8.2 million to 6.8 million, and cash balances increased from 5.2 to 5.9. And I think I've already said, in fact, that as a result, net debt improved from 3.0 million to 0.9 million. In fact, as we sit here today, we are actually cash positive, i.e. that is to say that our cash balances exceed our bank debt. The bank loan of 6.8 million is being paid off at the rate of $1.4 million a year with no penalties for early repayments. And it's also relevant in this context to note that the debt to EBITDA ratio improved from 1.18 to 0.59, which creates additional scope for further financing if required. Cash flow. The company generated positive cash flow of $5.6 million after deducting the increases in working capital described above. Capital expenditure totaled 3.1 million, of which 1.8 million was spent on constructing the new IO9 plant in Oklahoma, and $0.7 million on two projects at the Kentucky chemical plant to develop efficiency and capacity for a key process and to renew and expand air handling capabilities in the R&D function. As well as its existing cash balances and bank term loan, the company has available to it a revolving line of credit of $6 million, currently being extended through September 2025, and also $4 million additional medium-term loan facilities for upcoming capital projects. Neither of these amounts is currently being utilized.
Yeah. Thanks, Malcolm. I think that gives a nice overview of the details of the financial performance in 2022. I will say that we're very proud of what we've done in 2022 and the work we've done in previous years to get to these results. Definitely benefited from a higher iodine price, but if we didn't do the work in previous years, we wouldn't benefit from that today. I also want to just give a little bit of background of kind of how the company has evolved and where we think we're going. So in the mid-2010s, I will say that previous building of iodine plants was at a much more rapid level and much less scrutinized level than it probably should have been. When the current management team came on board, we really focused on our operations and being one of the lowest cost producers of iodine in the world. Once we got that under control, we started a prudent growth strategy and built a few more iodine plants, and also really worked hard on our debt reduction. It brought us to where we are today and the financial results that we had. And back over the last 5 years, where we've continued to increase revenue and profits. So where do we go from here? Well, we've already announced that we are building and well underway on the IO9 building of a new iodine plant in central Oklahoma, and it's on track to be online before the end of the quarter. We continue to look with various multiple oil and gas producers, which we've targeted at specific sites to come up with commercial terms for an IO10 plant here in the near future as well. We also continue to invest in the IOFINA chemical division, have completed processes in late 2022, early 2023. We completed a laboratory expansion product so that we can focus on growth at chemical, not only with working on our existing processes, but developing new products. Like you see here below, we're working on anhydrous lithium iodide, products for animal nutrition, products that are non-iodine based that will hopefully continue the growth of our non-iodine products, which were significantly higher in 2022 compared to 2021. Just to touch briefly a little bit more on IO9, here's some recent pictures in the bottom left of the construction of IO9 that were taken in the last couple of weeks. We're well underway for this plant. It's with a new partner that we haven't partnered with before. Once operational and water is flowing at full capacity through the plant and we are extracting iodine, we are anticipating that this plant will produce an additional 100 to 150 metric tons of crystalline iodine on an annual basis. To build these plants, it costs currently about $4 million. And we've actually used some parts and pieces from an IO5 plant to help reduce the cash outlay for IO number 9. We're proud of how we've developed our technology and how we can build these plants. These plants, we believe, are great investments, have a quick return on investments, and we estimate IO number 9's turnaround on investment to be less than 2 years. And we are building IO9 in an area of Oklahoma where we think future plants will follow IO number 9. So this particular slide tries to show where we are striving to build a new core area of iodine production for IOFINA in the state of Oklahoma. The map on the left is the western part of Oklahoma. The two large blue stars indicate approximately where our current iodine plants are producing iodine. There's 4 plants up in the northern part of the state and 1 on the further west part of the state. Where and why are we building IO9 where we are and are in negotiations with other oil and gas producers for future plants? Well, we're in this area where this green box is blown up here on the right side. So we're in an area of high density of oil and gas production, high rates of additional inputs and investments from oil and gas producers. And the more hydrocarbons that are produced, guess what? The more brine is produced as well. So IO number 9 is being built in this tri-county area, and the negotiations for IO number 10 and 11 and beyond are with operators currently in this area. And we, by building plants close to one another in a new core area, in an area of growth, we believe these plants will have long-term viability and can actually share resources from an operational standpoint between the plants. So I talked about goals for some organic growth, which include the building of IO number 9. The board and the management team is committed to build future plants beyond IO number 9 and is currently negotiating with multiple potential partners for IO number 10. We've prioritized these partners and spend more time working to try to get to commercial terms with these partners. It's not an easy process, but we are hard work at developing a scheme to build IO number 10 soon after IO number 9. And our goals are to continue to build plants at least on a yearly basis so that we are able to double our iodine production in the next 3 to 5 years, and therefore be one of the very close, if not the largest producer of iodine in North America. Some longer term visions for the group are continued area expansions of where we can produce iodine. We're very focused on our Oklahoma operations now, but spend some time in exploratory efforts to look for other iodine sources with high volumes of water, to look for the future growth of IOFINA years down the road. Other areas that we're looking at are increased mobility of plants and being able to control the water source more than we do today, which includes potentially even looking at old hydrocarbon wells and converting them to brine wells to supply iodine production at plants. The specialty chemicals unit is also not something that we forget about. We're looking to increase our production footprint at IOFINA Chemical down the road and invest in new halogen-based molecules, not only iodine-based, but chlorine and fluorine-based well, so that we are expanding our product offerings within our known chemistries and chemistry set that we know how to do. But as we move on as an organization, the management team and the board it feels like we're in a different phase for IOFINA now. We've done a nice job at reducing debt, improving our balance sheet, prudently growing our iodine operations. And now we will start to look for other opportunities, potentially outside of our organic growth, which we've tried to tell you about here today. So we will look at individual product lines, add-on businesses, whether they're in iodine chemistry or similar types of specialty chemical areas, to assist the growth of IOFINA. What I hope investors know about this management team is that we are very prudent and analytical about how we grow the operations. So currently we're looking at targeted businesses that could, we believe, help the growth of IOFINA, the expansion of products that we offer to customers. But any kind of looking at these kind of M&A offerings will be done very prudently and with a microscope of a view on that particular M&A acquisition. There's nothing imminent in this area, but the management team is committed to exploring whether or not add-ons to the business will make sense. And with the financial position that IOFINA is today versus where it was a few years ago, we feel now is the right time to look at these opportunities. And so in summary, I just want to kind of tell you why we're excited about our business and why we think we're an interesting company for investors. We have a unique technology. It's a proven low-cost technology in a market where there's growth internationally. We are a producer of iodine in North America, and we believe our production, compared to the other ways that iodine is produced globally, is much more environmentally friendly. As we've stated, the iodine market continues to grow in applications such as human healthcare applications and X-ray contrast imaging, continues to grow, and we want to be part of that. We've proven ourselves from our financial results and our production activities that we're not a startup. We have proven technology and can build these plants with rapid paybacks. We've worked hard on our balance sheet and our financial position. We've never been in a more advantageous position than we are now, with record-setting EBITDA of over 11.5 million last year. While we're focused on iodine, we are a diversified business, not only in our iodine production that has multiple plants that produce iodine, but we have diverse value-added products that contain iodine, chlorine, and fluorine, and are committed to the R&D efforts to expand those product offerings. And lastly, I'll just say, I think we have a diversified, skilled management team with various backgrounds: chemistry, finance, geology, oil and gas. And we're actually looking to add on to this management experience as we enter our next phase of growth with IOFINA. And for that, and to that, I think I want to thank everyone for attending today's presentation. We are excited about the future of IOFINA, and I'm going to hand it back over to Jake as we review questions for the question and answer period.
Tom, Malcolm, that's great. And thank you very much indeed for your presentation this afternoon. If I may, I'll just bring back up your camera there. Ladies and gentlemen, please do continue to submit your questions just by using the Q&A tab that's situated on the top right-hand corner of your screen. But just while the company take a few moments to review those questions that were submitted already, I would like to remind you that a recording of this presentation, along with a copy of the slides and the published Q&A, can be accessed via your investor dashboard. Malcolm, Tom, we did receive a number of pre-submitted questions ahead of today's event. And as you can see there in the Q&A tab, we've also received a number of questions throughout your presentation this afternoon as well. So firstly, thank you to all of those on the call for taking the time to submit their questions. And Tom, Malcolm, perhaps if I may just hand back to you to respond to those questions where it's appropriate to do so, and then I'll pick up from you at the end. Thank you.
Great, thanks. The first question that we have has to deal with does our wet technology have the facility to extract lithium from the oil and gas produced water? And there are any plans to implement this in our process? So to answer the first question fairly directly, our iodine production technology would not directly extract lithium from oil and gas produced water. However, there's a lot of, and we've looked into these particular brines and the lithium content in the brines that we extract our iodine from. The lithium concentrations in these brines are generally lower than where other lithium producers are extracting lithium from. However, I'll say there's a lot of research and industrial development that are dealing with direct lithium extraction. So lithium extraction that takes it directly from brines without an evaporation process. These are kind of newer technologies and are higher cost technologies compared to the more traditional brine lithium technologies, which involve evaporation of concentration of lithium. I'll say there's no direct lithium production from these brines for us now, but we are talking with people that are in the direct lithium extraction space to see if there is a potential of partnering with these types of technologies to provide a more holistic kind of product offering to our oil and gas providers, so that they can provide, while we provide them benefits for our iodine production, if we can provide them additional benefits from other mineral production, we will do so. But I think those are a few steps away. Okay, the second question is, does IOFINA see the Chilean government's move on the lithium industry as an opening negotiation position for larger royalties involvements or a prelude to full nationalization? Could other natural resources be in the firing line too? And I can say, first of all, I would be hesitant to speak for the Chilean government's strategy or intent. However, we feel that this type of policy does potentially indicate more risk for investment into Chile. But I could say, essentially right now, I think it's a little bit too early to tell. I think from what we understand is that it was lithium specific. Could it move into other natural resources like copper or iodine? I think it's too early to say, and we'll just have to follow it as closely as we can. The next question is, can the IP and technology used to extract lithium be applied to extract other valuable chemicals? And I think we've kind of covered the lithium extraction in our brine systems. Our iodine technology does not have the capabilities of extracting lithium. It does clean up the water a little bit, which may make lithium extraction be a little bit more plausible. But I think lithium extraction from these types of brines are a couple steps away. But we do spend a little bit of time looking at potential other minerals that can be isolated from the brines. The next question is, congratulations on transforming the balance sheet. Will you start to reward shareholders with some form of return, either a dividend or a buyback. I would say currently we do not offer a dividend to shareholders, and we have asked for permission at the last AGM for a potential to buy back shares, and we intend to do that again at this year's AGM, which is about a month from now, a little over a month from now. Our view right now is that we have definitely improved our balance sheet. We also have a tremendous amount of growth opportunities within the organization. And right now we feel the best way to use cash generation is reinvesting into the business and help grow the business. Are these discussions being held at the board level and being under consideration more? Yes, but currently we've decided to reinvest into IOFINA and its growth opportunities. The next question, if there are so many sites that could potentially have plants built, why does it always take so long to select a site as an IO10 while you were building IO number 9? Or is there not as many economical sites as previously thought? So what I can say is that we are continuing to evaluate potential sites and working on multiple sites at this time with a focus on prioritization of where we think the best sites are and where we think the best sites will be long-term for IOFINA. Finalizing commercial terms with oil and gas companies, which are going to be beneficial to both sides, is frankly a difficult process. We always run a fine line of pushing too hard in negotiations or not pushing hard enough. And we will continue to work our best to try to come up with commercial agreements to build future sites. There are a number of economical sites that are available for IOFINA. And these are in negotiations with oil and gas operators. And we prioritize our resources, where we feel like the best sites will be and the more likely outcome of a positive commercial agreement. We also intend to expand our business development team so that we have more depth on our team to be able to do these negotiations and get them done as quickly as we can. But I think the quick answer is these are not easy negotiations. There are a number of sites we can go to, and we could work hard and diligently to come up with commercial terms and build these plants on a regular basis. The next question is, now that you're in a strong cash position, where you're expected to generate a tremendous amount of EBITDA, and you've highlighted in your annual report that building new plants is a priority. Is it fair to assume you will endeavor to build 2 plants a year as long as iodine prices remain at elevated levels? I can say that the board is committed to building plants at a more rapid rate than what we have in the past. You can look for from IOFINA in the near term at least 1 plant per year, and we've indicated that by our production or our construction of IO number 9 and our commitment to build IO number 10 as soon as commercial terms are agreed upon. We are in negotiations with plants further beyond that, but I think you will see a more rapid building of plants than you have in the past. Another question is, the recent Canaccord note suggests you might expand IOFINA Chemicals. Where can you elaborate this, and how much capacity do you have at the Covington site? To answer that pretty quickly, we have excess capacity at the Covington site for certain processes. We have restricted capacity for other processes, and we are reinvesting in the chemical site in order to expand production of certain products. Being a specialty chemical manufacturer, one size doesn't fit all. So a lot of this is specialized equipment that is utilized on a product by product basis. So as we expand our IOFINA Chemicals product offerings, we will need to expand on that site. We do have room for expansion at the IOFINA Chemicals site. However, if we get to a next phase of IOFINA, we will look at potentially other sites in order to expand the IOFINA chemical offerings. It looks like we might have a few more questions. With respect to iodine derivative products within IOFINA Chemical, we wish to understand the pricing versus raw materials. Do we maintain constant EBITDA or gross profit per kilo by a pricing formula. And second part of the question is, do we sell iodine and halogen derivatives through distributors, open market, or mainly through business-to-business contacts? So the quick answer to the first part, without getting into too much detail, is we do not try to go through to gain market share by changing margins in our products. So we have a set input of costs, raw material costs, and generally product by product, there is a somewhat fixed margin above costs that we sell our products. So those kind of margins are generally maintained with most of our IOFINA chemical-based products. So I think you see a fairly consistent, although it does change a little bit, but not very much, of profit on an individual product basis. And then how do we sell our products and derivatives? It's a mix. We do have major customers, which we do direct sales through, especially in the United States and in South America. We realize that in order to get a global focus, we do need to use distributors and agents to sell our products. And we do have a network of those agents that satisfy our European customers. And we have some specific agents in China and India that help with our global sales. So it's a mixture of direct sales and using of distributors and agents. And this is another area of expansion to our team that IOFINA intends to increase our sales force in the next year. And I think the last question I have here is, what was the company's main reason to list on the AIM market in London instead of the US? I think that's a question that can be better answered by the management team that listed at the time. But I think the quick answer to that is there were, SQM is a New York Stock Exchange listed company involved in iodine chemistry. There was actually a Canadian listed company when we went public that was also involved in iodine. And I think the founders at the time not only saw an opportunity to be unique on the AIM market, but also had investment contacts in London at the time, and took the company public on the AIM market. But I think that's a question that can better be answered by someone else. Do we see any organic growth expansion via iodine derivative recycling sources? We do play a little bit into iodine recycling, especially in the 2010s as iodine prices rose. Any kind of stream that had iodide levels, people tend to try to not lose any value of these streams. And we've been involved over the course of a period of time of taking some iodide back out of these streams and recycling them. So it is a part of our business where we do isolate some iodine from recycled sources. The next question has to do with M&A. Would you be willing to use shares at these levels, or would the size of any deals be limited by the balance sheet? Any M&A details, I think, would be on a case-by-case basis. I think smaller deals would be hopefully handled by what we generate in cash or a potential small amount of debt. If it's a transformational kind of acquisition, it would be a more complex funding scheme. So, at this particular point in time, it depends on what kind of the M&A deal would look like. Do you foresee any investments for iodine extraction outside the US, whether it be Eastern Europe or other areas? I think we have enough opportunities in the US right now where we are focused on expansion within the United States. Although we do have conversations from time to time about opportunities outside the United States. But I think in the short to medium term, IOFINA will be investing in iodine extraction in the United States. How do you hope costs of production should evolve with additional volume? In other words, how should IO9 costs per ton compare to your current average? Costs to produce our iodine are generally on a plant-by-plant basis. The more volume and the higher concentrations of iodide, to be in a very simplistic situation, the larger the volumes and the higher the concentrations, the lower our cost of production. There are some variables within that. There's also some other chemistries in the water that affect our production costs. But in general, they're on a case-by-case basis. The larger amounts of brine that we can get to these plants, the better generally our cost of production. And then it looks like the last question is, can you discuss the agreements brine supply and the IOFINA should we see a more dramatic decline in the iodine pricing at some point? I'm not really at liberty to say too much about the specific brine agreements that we have with our partners. I think in general, I can say that, first of all, the agreements are on a case-by-case basis and a plant-by-plant basis. But generally, as for most of the agreements, the higher the iodine price, the more benefit our partners receive, and vice versa. So both partners benefit from a higher iodine price. And then if iodine prices were to be lower, that would help our actual cost of production, and we wouldn't be as the amount that would be paid to our partners would be less. So again, I appreciate everybody's attendance today. I hope that we were able to update where we stand today for IOFINA. We appreciate the Investor Meet Company team and the platform they've provided for us to be able to communicate with our investors. And I just want to say that, appreciate the current investors that we have that have stuck through us through thick and thin. I think, we're at a stage right now with IOFINA where we have established our technology. We've developed a growth strategy and are even on to the next phase of the growth of IOFINA. And we hope that you'll be along for the ride with us. So with that, I'll say thanks and turn it back to Jake.
Tom, Malcolm, that's great. And thank you very much indeed for updating investors this afternoon. Could I please ask investors not to close this session, as you'll now be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This won't take a few moments to complete, but I'm sure will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of IOFINA PLC, we would like to thank you for attending today's presentation. That now concludes today's session, so good afternoon to you all.